Hey there, friends, and welcome to the Define Success podcast. I'm your host, Bailey Guy. Join us as we empower you to turn your can'ts into cans and your aspirations into achievements. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Define Success podcast. I'm super excited about our guest this week. It is Presly Pedigo. She is USA National Miss 2023. And so I will read her bio real quick so that you all can be introduced to her. Let's see, I'll pull that up. So Presly Pedigo is a 22-year-old from Nashville, Tennessee, just like me. She is a recent graduate from the University of Tennessee, where she achieved her honors bachelor's degree in neuroscience and psychology. Upon graduation, she received the Gold Volunteer Service Medallion. Her dream is to one day have a career as a physician associate where she can empower other young women. Presly was most recently crowned USA National Miss 2023 in Hollywood, Florida this past July. I was emceeing and got to announce her name. So exciting. And she is passionate about volunteering at East Tennessee Children's Hospital and is the founder of her social impact mission, Camp Inspire. In her free time, you can find Presly working out at the gym, at CycleBar spin classes, or playing with her yorkiepoo, Sachi. She also enjoys makeup artistry and charcuterie board making. Pageantry has allowed Presly to grow into a confident young woman who never gives up on her dreams. I love that so much. And having known you for so long, I think we met, it's been like 8 years that we've known each other, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We literally met in
No, we met.
2015. And
Yeah.
so like I've known you for so long, and just to see like how much you've grown and how much you've accomplished and succeeded in is just so incredible. And so that is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on, is because you're just such a rock star in every single way. And I love that that I've been able to see so much growth and just persistence in you over the past few years. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. But yeah, so if you want to say anything else about yourself or just kind of say hi to our audience.
Well, hi guys, I'm Presley, and same goes to you. I know Bailey kind of talked and touched on this, but we met when I started pageants. You started way before me, but I kind of met you when I was early on in my pageant journey, and I've just been able to see you grow and see you flourish, and that's been incredible. So I'm excited to be here, excited to chat with you guys today.
Yeah, pageants, that's one of the biggest advantages of pageants, is that growth that everyone gets. Like regardless of if you even win the pageant, you're going to grow through the experience, and that's one of my favorite things about it and why I encourage everyone to do it. But so speaking of that, just kind of talk about how you started in the pageant industry and maybe why you entered your first pageant.
I think I just wanted to try something out of my comfort zone. I was so shy and so awkward before I started pageants. I started when I was 15. I just did my county fair and I begged my mom all summer. I said, I want to try a pageant. I want to do the fair. And I think it was because I had watched Toddlers and Tiaras, obviously was not nothing like that. And I didn't get involved in that side of pageantry, but I just admired the women in pageants and I wanted to be like them. And I think that was what pushed me to get out of my comfort zone. And I begged my mom, and I didn't even like makeup. I didn't even really wear dresses. So it was just completely something out of my wheelhouse. And my mom finally let me do it. And I got bit by the pageant bug and absolutely loved it and just kept going, kept trying and meeting such amazing young women like Bailey. And it's just so much fun. And it's a hobby that I've had since then. And it's just helped me become who I am today. So I'm so thankful.
Yeah, that's funny. My first pageant was also my county fair, so that's great. Also, shout out to Laura, Presley's mom. She's so
Yes.
fun. I'm so
Oh,
glad that she said yes to letting you do pageants.
I
Um,
know.
so what do you think has been the biggest the biggest thing that really led to your ultimate success with being USA National Miss in pageants? And you've held another national title before that, but I know you competed for so many times at even just UNM. I think you won on your third try. And so
Yes.
what do you think was the biggest difference between those two times before and then the year that you did take the title?
For sure. I did compete at USA National Miss for 3 years and I took home the title on my third try. It was such a blessing. And, just that persistence has really helped me get there. And my first try, I kind of had a moment, like my self-confidence was really struggling, and I competed in pageants throughout this whole time. I went through a tough relationship and really it impacted my self-confidence a lot, and my first time at UNM, I was very anxious to even get back in the pageant realm and be on that national level again, and I was just met with an environment of young women who were so positive and so intentional and lifted each other up, and it reminded me why I love pageants in the first place, and all that anxiety was just gone, and I had the best time. So I returned my next year, and I had a lot of outside stressors going on, and I was just really disappointed in the outcome my second year. So when I got home back to Nashville immediately after the pageant, and I guess it was 2022. We're in 2024 now. That's crazy. But in 2022, I got home and I sat down. I really looked at my performance and everything I had done and my preparations throughout that year. And I really wanted to just improve. So I made a map every month of what I needed to do and who I needed to meet with and the goals that I wanted to meet just to compete that third time. And, that map that I laid out for myself, I was able to meet all those individual goals and ultimately get me to the big goal that I had set for myself. And I think just that really the persistence and being honest with myself on where I needed to improve and how I needed to do better is really helped me get where I am today.
That is so awesome. I love that you touched on goal setting and also that your first year your confidence was a bit lower because I think that there's a misconception with pageants that once you win the title that will give you that confidence and
Yeah.
that oh like once I win my dream title, once I do this, once I do that, then I will have all this confidence and like nobody can touch me after that. But that's so not true because you actually need to have that confidence before getting the title. So that
Yeah.
confidence like isn't necessarily like part of the success of winning. It's actually more of like a prerequisite that you need in order to even get there. So
Yeah.
that's a really cool lesson for everybody to hear. And I love that you set the goals and did every month set those goals out. Do you remember what
Yeah.
any of those goals were? Like any examples of what some were?
Yeah, just like just a not a mental one, just more of a physical. My modeling, I tripped on stage my second year at UNM. I had a lot going on up here, and I thought in the moment that I did a good job, and I go back and watch the footage, and in my eyeballs, I can just see it. I'm like, she's not having a fun time. Like, where is she? She's not having fun. And I left and I was like, I really want to work on my modeling. I wanted to work on technique. I wanted to, get down to the basics. And I met with a coach. She's down in Atlanta. I love her. Her name's Karina with Shine Pageants and Modeling. She had me put a book on my head and I was walking around and I worked on posture. I worked on all those things. And I learned I went every month to Atlanta, at least one time every month. I would go on the weekend from school and it was kind of hard sometimes to make that work, but I had that goal and I wanted to do it. So we made those sacrifices and made it work. But I learned later on as I kept working that I had anxiety and I was so self-conscious in like my subconscious about my modeling because I knew where I wanted to be and how I wanted to walk, but I didn't know physically how to do that. I was like, I don't know how to move my hips the way some of these girls do. And I was kind of self-conscious about that in years past, and I didn't really realize. So I was able to work on that and improve that. And going back into my third competition with UNM, I felt so much better and so confident. And I found myself excited to get on stage and show people what I had learned. So that was kind of cool, full circle moment last year.
Yeah, and that was, I'm sure, so much for you to juggle because you were also in college at the time, and I mean, not studying anything easy, neuroscience. Like that's a little challenging, a little tricky. And so, how did you juggle all those things with the trips to Atlanta? I know that's a that's not a fun drive, but it's doable. So, how did you manage like everything you were doing? And you were at a sorority too. So, how did you do that?
Yes, I really also wanted to just make the most of my senior year. I went to all the football games that I could in Knoxville. I went to the University of Tennessee, so go Vols. But I just really planned. And it was sitting down at the beginning of the month and taking my planner and saying where I could go in my sorority too. I volunteered, I worked at the urgent care. So I had a lot of things going on, especially with school, but school was the priority. So being able to just work all those things together and prioritize what was important and when I had free time, how I wanted to spend that free time was kind of how I managed that, and it all worked out.
Yeah. How do you spend your free time now as a national title holder when you have, just all the time where you don't have work or anything going on? What do you do for fun?
I love to relax and I love to go to the gym. Like I think you read in my bio, I go to CycleBar. That's fun. It's like there's spin classes. I've taken up Hot Works as well, and you can cycle in a sauna, which seemed very intimidating at first, but it's honestly quite nice. And that's kind of a way that I pour back into myself and give myself self-care, just working out and keeping my body healthy and happy. And my mom and I, we've tried to take up cooking. We're not the best cooks. Lately in 2024, we've done some cooking, so that's been fun too.
Me and my mom have been doing the same thing with the cooking. We've really had to learn how to cook over the past few months, and it's been a challenge, but we've done it. I was chopping up a bunch of carrots the other day and cooking carrots. And
We love a TikTok recipe. That's where we found all of ours, you know? They're the
yeah.
best.
My mom just pulls all the recipe books off the shelf that have kind of just been there for decoration for the past 25 years. And so she pulled them off. And so we've that's what we've been doing lately. So I feel that. So what does your morning routine look like? I think a lot of times a really productive day starts with a productive morning. And so I'd love to hear like what would be your ideal morning routine?
My ideal morning routine. I wake up early. I feel like I have my most successful days when I wake up before 6 a.m. It sounds insane, but as soon as I get up, I always make my bed. My dad has always told me your day starts greater when you make your bed. So I've made that a habit of mine, making my bed up every single day. I've done that for years. And just, doing my skincare. I work in a med spa currently, so they have me on a whole skincare regimen. So taking the time to do that. And I'd like to do the ice roller on the face. That's a lot of fun. And then I usually go to the gym in the morning too. So I'll do all that and I'll go to work. I hang out with my dog, walk my dog, a lot of fun stuff like that, answer emails, you know, just
Mhm.
the daily morning routine.
Yeah. And as you're coming to a close in your reign as USA National Miss, I know that's kind of hard to think about, but we are over halfway done with your reign, which makes me sad because I've loved seeing you with this title. But what do you think is probably like a goal that you have for the next 5 to 6 months left in your reign?
I definitely just really want to be present in these next few months. I have a lot of travels coming up. We're going to state pageants every weekend during January and February. So that's going to be a blast. And I just can't wait to meet all the girls and encourage them along their pageant journeys and hang out with my little sisters. And I get to do some more Camp Inspires, which was my social initiative to help kids find their passions for volunteerism and become leaders and make differences in their communities. So doing that in different states across the country is just such a dream and such a blessing. So being able to just be present throughout this year and just have a great time, and it's a busy time, but I'm just so grateful because when you work for something for so long, just to be living in the moment. I think it finally just hit me that this happened back in July. My mom and I will still look at each other and we're like, wow, like that really happened, didn't it? Like
Yeah.
that was a thing that happened. But just such a blessing, and I'm just so excited to get these next few months going, and it's sad to think about it ending, but it's bittersweet, to look
Yeah.
that far ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about Camp Inspire because I've loved seeing that. I thought that was such a great idea that you had, and seeing you really implement that, I've loved seeing it. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so Camp Inspire is a day camp for kids to help them find their passions through volunteerism. The Inspire platform of USA National Miss implements people finding their passion through volunteering in any way that their heart desires. So, through compassion, kindness, or serving the earth. And at Camp Inspire, we hit all 3 points of the Inspire initiative. So, these kids are introduced to different local organizations that they can volunteer with and just make a difference because I feel like kids nowadays they wanna give back, they wanna make that difference, but they don't know where to start. So that is the big goal of Camp Inspire, and it's been so reciprocated? No. The kids have been so receptive to the
Yes.
program, it's been so much fun. Moms will come back to me because we'll do different projects like card making, or we'll make things for animal shelters. We did a park cleanup one year, and the moms would come back to me and they were like, Presley, we went to the grocery store and Sarah and Sam, they were just appalled at all the trash in the parking lot and made us pick up the trash in the parking lot before we went to Kroger. And I just think like the mom was just cracking up. But that just means the world to me that the kids actually loved what they were doing and it made a difference in their lives. And I hope that because I've had a passion for volunteering since I was little, and I just want to share that to the younger generation. And so we can all make a difference together. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. I want to go to Camp Inspire.
Yes, yeah, come for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And so for someone who does want to get involved in volunteering and maybe doesn't know where to start,
Mhm.
and not even, for children, but maybe somebody who's in college
Of
and who's
course.
juggling their college schedule, what advice would you give to someone who is wanting to get involved?
Yeah, definitely, especially if you are in college, looking into your university, they'll usually have, organizations and websites and links that can help you get connected through your university. Like I know at UT we had the Big Smoky Pantry, which a lot of kids volunteered with, and we had an organization called Lead Serve UTK, which connected everyone to different local Knoxville organizations to volunteer with. When I graduated, I actually got the Volunteer Service Medallion, which was so cool through Lead Serve. So being able to get connected and get implemented in organizations like that can help you make a difference in your community and you meet really cool people along the way too. So definitely just don't be afraid to get out there and make a difference. It can be kind of scary not knowing these people, not knowing where you're going or what you're doing, but you may end up loving it. And who knows, find a new passion.
Yeah, and it definitely I totally feel that because sometimes when you're going into a new setting, I volunteered a lot with the United Way of in Murfreesboro where I go to college. And so that was a really good way to get connected with volunteering in a place where I wasn't very familiar and didn't know anybody. But walking into some of those events, it's such a good way of just growing yourself and making new connections and really just practicing those interpersonal skills where you're in an environment where you don't know anybody and you've just shown up and sometimes they don't even really know what to tell you to do, but
Right.
you're there, you're ready to help. And I think that's such a fun mindset to have of just, I don't know anybody here, but I'm just here to serve and be hands for whoever needs them. And
Yeah.
so that's so great. And I love that you teach that to so many kids, and you're just making such a good impact on the national level. And I think that's just so wonderful. So you're just an incredible USA National Miss. I love it. And just an incredible person. I love talking to you and always hanging out with you. You're so great. Okay, so in all those times, and you've had a lot of success throughout the years, but what would you consider to be your biggest failure that you've had?
My biggest failure, I think it's just when you think about times where you can be self-conscious and so hard on yourself, especially where I went through a rough patch where I lost a lot of my self-confidence. It was hard to do pageants because I would judge myself every day. So it was like, why am I putting myself up to be judged in front of these people? You know, when you find yourself in a place like that where you're down on yourself and you're low, it's hard, but it's just being able to pick yourself back up and keep going and find ways to pour back into yourself and find things that you love, helps you come back from challenges and come over things like that.
Yeah, a lot of times I think that the biggest, if we kind of think of like success as like winning the battle, a lot of times those biggest battles are actually just in our mind and in our own life and in our schedule and things that we have to overcome individually. And so I think that's a really, really good point because sometimes like it's not always about like, oh, I lost this or I didn't win that. But it's like, if you put yourself out there and you tried and you gave it your all, then even if you didn't win, even if you didn't, get the internship, get the job, then like that's a success, that won. And so a lot of times the biggest failures that we have in life are actually times when we let ourselves down or when we didn't show up for ourselves or just when we let negative thoughts really overtake our mind. And so that is such a really good point.
Yeah.
And going off of that, what do you think has been your biggest success in life so far?
My biggest success, just being able to graduating college was so cool, just because there
Yeah.
were moments throughout that journey where I was like, I don't know if this is going to be possible. I don't know how this is going to go. And just being able to finally walk across that stage and get my diploma, I was so proud of myself for being able to move to a new city where I didn't know many people. Because, like I said, I used to be so shy and I love my mom, I love my family. And so, just being able to go off on my own and complete that part of the battle was just crazy to me that I even did that, and just tackling my degree and everything that I accomplished throughout my time at UT, just being able to look back on it was just incredible and so cool to see the personal growth throughout that 4-year time span. We went through a pandemic. I was a freshman. We got sent home. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the crazy things that happened during those 4 years. But I
Mhm.
really became the person I am today because of it. And I don't know, just graduating, experiencing and completing that part of my life is probably my biggest success.
Can you tell me more about like some of those obstacles that you faced? Because you have overcome a lot, and with the journey with your confidence and then learning that persistence and finding that confidence in yourself. What advice would you give to somebody who's kind of in that position of where you were 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, just definitely keep trying and never give up. There are a lot of times where it can be hard, but I always say the best is yet to come, and you never know what is right around the corner. I had a lot of times too throughout my college journey of like imposter syndrome, being
Yeah.
in the neuroscience major, being in my sorority. I worked in the field that I wanted to work in my senior year, which was so crazy and cool. But having those moments of imposter syndrome, like, can I actually do this? Am I fit to be here? Am I deserving to be here? You are. You're doing the thing no matter what it is in your life, whether it's school, work, your career, you are deserving to be there. And if you are putting in the work and you are putting yourself in that position to succeed, you deserve to be there. And just keep going, never give up. And because the best is yet to come.
Yeah. And you've been saying that for years now. The
I
best is yet to
have.
come. That has been your catchphrase for so long. And I
I
love
have. It's
that's such a
coming
great
up.
mindset to have too. Okay, so one of my final questions as we kind of wrap up our time, but what do you think has been the biggest key to the success that you've had and then the goals that you've been able to achieve? Whether it be, a specific goal setting tactic or a productivity hack or whatever it may be, what do you think has been like once you learned that it was like, okay, game changer. Like this is something that I can immediately implement into whatever goals that you have for the rest of your life, and that really helped you in the journey.
Waking up early was a big one for me, being able to wake up and tackle everything that I had for that day, making a little to-do list. I have one, like I have my big planner, which all the things for months to come, but then I do on my phone, just on my notes app, a little to-do list for the next day. Like if I have errands to run, if I have tasks to do, homework assignments, emails to send, I put those on there and can check them off as I go on. And that's fun too, to be able to check something off. But
Yeah.
also just setting realistic goals, like I talked earlier about, if you have something big, a big goal that you have, sometimes it can seem really, really overwhelming, but being able to break that down into realistic parts, whether it be what you want to accomplish each day, what you want to accomplish each month, give yourself that realistic goal to tackle. And then you can just take it piece by piece, and it doesn't seem as intimidating as the big goal as a whole. And then you'll finally get there.
Since this podcast is called Define Success, how do you define success?
I define success by being happy just whenever I find myself in a good place, when I'm happy with my family, with my friends. That's success to me, just living life to the fullest. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Always living life to the fullest, and you've definitely done that. And so I'm super, super proud of you and excited for you. And I can't wait to see what you do with the next few months of your reign and then after that. So thank you so much, Presley, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Bye bye, everybody.